Hello, sir. My name is Li Yan. Now I will present you my final year project. The study title is Factors Influencing Individual Investors' Adoption of AI-based Robo-Advisors. This research is an empirical study based on a questionnaire survey with 385 valid responses. The main purpose of this study is to examine why individual investors are willing or unwilling to adopt AI-based robo-advisor services. By integrating functional, social, emotional, and trust-related factors into a single analytical framework. In the following presentation, I will briefly introduce the research background, objectives, conceptual framework, methodology, key findings, and practical implications. In recent years, financial technology, especially AI and big data, has significantly reshaped the asset management and wealth management industries. Robo-advisors have emerged as an important innovation as they provide automated asset allocation, scalable services, and lower optional costs compared to traditional human advisors. However, despite continuous technology improvements, the actual adoption rate among individual investors remains uneven. Many users still hesitate due to the concern about trust, lack of emotional engagement, or uncertainty about algorithm-based decision-making. Therefore, this study argues that technology capability alone is not sufficient to explain adoption behavior in financial services. Based on this background, the overall objective of this study is to construct and validate a comprehensive model that explains individual investors' willingness to adopt AI-based robo-advisors. Specifically, this study examines the combined effects of functional evaluation, such as perceived usefulness and ease of use, social emotional factors, and trust relationships on behavioral intention. The key research question is which factor played the most important role driving individual investors' intention to adopt robo-advisors, and how do these factors interact with each other? To answer this question, the study proposed an integrated conceptual framework. First, the functional dimension includes perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use, derived from the technology acceptance model. Second, the social-emotional dimension includes subjective social norms, perceived humanness, perceived social interactivity, and perceived social presence. Finally, trust and rapport are introduced as central relational mechanisms that translate functional and emotional perceptions into behavioral intention. This framework reflects the high risk and high uncertainty nature of financial decision-making. Based on prior literature, several hypotheses were proposed. First, perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use are hypothesized to positively influence behavioral intention. Several perceived ease of use is also expected to positively influence perceived usefulness. Third, social-emotional factors influencing perceived humanness, social interactivity, and social presence are hypothesized to positively influence trust and rapport. Together, these hypotheses aim to explain how both rational evaluation and emotional perceptions jointly shape adoption intention. This study adopts a quantitative cross-sectional questionnaire survey as its primary research method. All constructs were measured using a 5-point Likert scale ranging from strongly disagree to strongly agree. A total of 385 valid responses were collected, primarily from Malaysian individuals investors, with a supplementary sample from mainland China. The data were analyzed using SPSS, including descriptive statistics, reliability analysis, Pearson correlation analysis, and multi-regression analysis. Regarding the respondent profile, the sample is relatively young. Approximately 78.2% of respondents are aged between 18 and 34, indicating that younger investors dominate the sample. Gender distribution is relatively balanced. Importantly, around 80% of respondents reported no prior experience using robo-advisors, suggesting that the finding mainly reflect perceptions of potential or first-time users rather than experienced users. All core constructs in this study were measured using a 5-point Likert scale, which is widely applied in technology, acceptance, and trust-related research. The overall Cronbach alpha value is 0.938, indicating a very high level of internal consistency and reliability. These results suggest that the measurement instruments are stable and suitable for subsequent statistical analysis. Now, moving on the key results. First, Pearson correlation analysis shows a strong positive relationship between perceived social interactivity and trust, with a correlation coefficient of R equal to 0.513, which is statistically significant. This indicates that when users perceive the system as interactive, responsive, and personalized, they are more likely to trust the platform. And second, the regression results show that the model explains 40.3% of the variance in behavioral intention, which indicates a moderate but meaningful explanatory power. And finally, trust, perceived usefulness, and perceived ease of use are identified as significant predictors of behavioral intention. In contrast, subjective social norms are not significant in the multivariate model. Overall, trust emerges as the most critical driver of adoption intention. Based on the findings, several important implications can be drawn. First, the results confirm that functional, social-emotional, and trust-related factors strongly drive the adoption of robo-advisors. Second, trust plays a pivotal role in transforming functional and emotional perceptions into actual adoption intention. From a practical perspective, robo-advisor platforms should not only focus on the performance, but also enhance usability, transparency, and explainability of algorithms. In addition, improving interactive features such as personalized feedback and real-time explanations can significantly strengthen the user's trust and acceptance. Finally, this study has several limitations. First, the use of convenience sampling limits the generalizability of the findings. Second, the cross-sectional design restricts casual interpretation between variables. Feature research could adopt longitudinal designs, expand cross-cultural comparisons, and incorporate actual behavioral data to further validity and refine the proposed model. Thank you for listening, and that's all my presentation.